What would be some instances where I would need a root canal?
Well, if you had, this happened especially after COVID, where a lot of people didn't have access to a dentist during that time, or their dentist disappeared. They just were afraid, to come into the office based on COVID. And they had probably 2020, they had a small cavity, and cavities never get better. And they just grew and grew until they started to feel a discomfort, or a tooth cracked because it was undermined. And they bit into something, and they ended up in my office. So that's usually what happens. It's usually from decay. Sometimes if you do a crown on a tooth, and it could happen 10 years later, just the trauma, sometimes from a crown, preparing a crown, can cause a tooth to die.
What do you mean by the tooth can die? So our teeth
teeth have blood supply inside, and which people call it the nerve, but it's like a little blood supply, and there is nerve tissue in there. The tooth gets traumatized from even from grinding or just being touched, by a crown or filling. The nerve can get what I call it the nerve, the pulp is the correct term, can get inflamed. And the thing is, if it gets inflamed, when things get inflamed, they expand. It's in a fixed compartment. It's like when if you have God forbid, have a brain injury.
Right.
Sometimes they drill a hole in your head to relieve the pressure. You can't do that in the mouth, because as soon as you make a hole into the pulp, bacteria would get in and it'd be over. So what happens is when the nerve gets inflamed, it kind of strangles itself. And that can take months, years, and it slowly breaks down. We call it dying. Byproducts of that come to the bottom of the tooth or the root, and you get an abscess.
And then the tooth, does it just fall out?
No. What happens is it hurts.
Okay.
Because it gets an abscess, it gets pushed up out of the plane of occlusion. So when you bite down, you're hitting that tooth first. And that's usually one of the first symptoms. Another symptom is sensitivity to hot. You place a hot liquid or hot food in your mouth, the pulp and all the teeth expand, but because this tooth already has inflammation, it expands even more, and it goes down the root, and it puts pressure in the socket.
I have heard, root canals hurt really bad. So that scares me. But you said that, it actually doesn't hurt, and you use nitrous oxide and different things to kind of handle people like me.
Well, there are very few times where if a patient waits too long and a tooth is very uncomfortable, that it could be a little hard to get them numb, and those are rare. But usually once you open the tooth up, you can inject into the pulp, and then they're fine. But those instances are rare, and it's usually when people wait too long that it becomes a problem.
That's when it becomes painful.
Right. When you feel discomfort, it's not going to go away, or if it does, it'll come back.